Now, if you want to understand what the fractional reserve is, just listen to this short story, and after you hear it, you will understand more than most graduates with economic degrees understand, because they've been in my class. And when I said to them, well, of course you know how money is created, they said, well, the government does it, doesn't it? Well, I wish it did, but it doesn't. So by the 11th century, the goldsmith banker, now the goldsmith, I'm taking it to units because there was a network of goldsmiths, and there was one practically in every town. The goldsmith was the only one in town who had a safe, because he made ornaments, he made coins, he worked with gold all the time, and he needed something to put it away in at night. So the rich, as always, worried that the poor, lusting for food, might rob them. So they went to the goldsmith, and they suggested to him that they leave their bags of gold coins with him in his safe, and of course they would pay him a fee just for keeping them safe. And he agreed to that. They said they would also pay him a fee every time they came to transact, taking money out, putting money in. He would also get a fee for that, for every transaction. So that was good, and he said yes, that was fine. And I'm sure he gave them the idea in the first place, but I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly how. But anyway, he said yes, he would do that for them. So that's what he did. And he was getting along, making money on the fee every time somebody used his services. So when a depositor needed to pay a debt, he would retrieve some of his coins, have his receipts changed, and pay his bill. However, he soon tired of the trip to the goldsmith. It wasn't like today. It was quite a trip, and would simply give his receipts to his creditor. So in other words, if he owed somebody some money or he bought a new carriage, he would say to the person he'd bought the carriage from, look, I'll give you, let me write you an IOU. I'll sign my name. You go and get the money from the goldsmith, please. You go and collect my coins. Here, I've signed the bottom of it. And the man who sold him the carriage would go off to the goldsmith, pick up with his receipt the money that was owed to him. The goldsmith got paid again for doing that transaction, and he went away happy. Sooner or later, though, even the creditors were tired of going to the goldsmith with these receipts. So they simply started passing receipts around among themselves. And since they all knew exactly what they had in their accounts with the goldsmith, they trusted each other. They passed around the receipts. Now, the goldsmith at that point was a banker. He was performing the services of a banker. The money was safe. He was letting them take it in, take it out, put it in, so he was getting paid for that. Now, suddenly, after a while, the goldsmith realized something so profound and so earth-shaking that he couldn't even sleep that night. He lay there awake all night, and he said to his wife, who was already asleep, he said, do you know that in 6 months, I've only had 2 customers, 2 of my depositors actually come to me and take out coins? Only 2. She was asleep. She didn't care. Next morning, he was still awake, went downstairs, went to his desk, probably took a stiff drink first, sat down, and he wrote out several receipts. He signed his name at the bottom. He made them in different amounts. So many gold coins for one, maybe 20, 200 for the next, 10 for the next. When he had all the receipts finished and his name on them, he proceeded to go into the town and spend them. Yes, he spent them. Now, everybody else's receipts were being passed around, and everyone knew that they were backed by the coins in the vault. However, the one difference that the goldsmith made when he signed his receipts, he did not put any of his own coins in the safe. At that point, he was no longer a banker. At that point, he was creating money. He had no right to do it. The monarch could create money, could put his typeface on the coins. They had tally sticks in early England to keep track of the accounts. But the goldsmith banker was doing something illegal. Not only illegal, but unethical. Because when he did not put his coins in the safe and went out and spent those receipts that everyone thought were covered by coins in the safe, he was diluting the value of everyone else's receipts that were out there. Now that is the fractional reserve system that we go by today. And for every $400 the banks lend, they're lucky to have $1 in there to back it. Now the second thing, even worse, that came along after that was another realization by the goldsmith banker, but now he was a goldsmith counterfeiter. As he got away with this over the months and possibly a few years, he said to himself, well, I haven't been discovered, and if I can spend these receipts, then I can lend these receipts. Now this criminal practice, which is the first privatization, the first privatization was of our money supply. Without that one, no other privatizations would be able to occur. And that's what is driving all these trade agreements now. They're not trade agreements, they're financial contracts. So when he started lending this non-existent money, he was foreclosing on real properties when others could not keep paying his compound interest. And so within maybe not even a century, the goldsmith bankers, and there was a network of them, basically owned Europe. And when Napoleon lost at Waterloo, it was because the Rothschilds made sure that his side didn't have enough money to win. And they've done that in every war and revolution ever since. If you read Anthony Sutton's book, he's a wonderful historian, and he includes the causes, not just the effects. Everything that's happening to us now are the effects of the cause, which is a financial scheme that has been superimposed upon real economies and is draining them to the death, draining them white. So the counterfeiter and his fractional reserve system, after they had done that in England, and Rothschild took over, by the way, most of England, when Napoleon lost, he pretended that Napoleon had won, and everyone watching him in the stock exchange, when he cast down his head and started selling British bonds, they were called British consols, he told his agent, sell, sell, and everybody in shock believed that he knew that Napoleon had won because he knew everything. He had the first espionage system, of course. And they all started selling their British bonds. Well, when the bonds had gone down to practically nothing, he beckoned his agents and they started buying them up for pennies on the pound. And when people finally realized that Napoleon had lost, they also realized that Rothschild had taken over not only the bank, but a lot of other things in England as well. So after that coup happened and the Bank of England imposed more and more debt on the British people, then you had the colonies. And the colonies decided they were going to break away from this private banking monopoly, and they were going to create their own colonial money, which Benjamin Franklin called scrip. And things were booming. People were building, because money should never be a commodity. Money is a medium of exchange. Money is to get things done. It should never have been made a commodity. That's another terrible crime against humanity.